Escape from Atlantis is a board game that portrays the sinking of Atlantis and the attempts by the population to escape the sinking island. It was originally released in the USA under the title of Survive, and first published in the English language by Parker Brothers in 1982. Survive was also marketed in Canada, Italy, Spain, and in many other countries. In 1986, Waddingtons launched their three-dimensional version Escape from Atlantis in the UK with revised rules. Waddingtons also sold a bilingual version of Escape from Atlantis in Canada. The game was sub-licensed in 1987 and sold in Australia and New Zealand. Waddingtons also sub-licensed Escape from Atlantis in Europe to Schmidt-Spiele of Germany. The game sold in Europe in many languages including Finnish, Dutch, Spanish, Italian, French and German. In 1996 Hasbro relaunched Escape from Atlantis in Europe under the Waddingtons brand. This version of the game had rules which were further revised. The game was invented by Julian Courtland Smith. Early copies of Escape from Atlantis include the name of the then co-copyright owner, Courtland Smith. World sales of Escape from Atlantis now exceed 1.25 million units. In April 2010, it was announced that American publisher Stronghold Games would be reprinting a new version of the game entitled Survive, Escape from Atlantis. On October 10, 2010, Survive, Escape from Atlantis became available for pre-order on the company's website. The retail date for this edition was February 2, 2011. In June 2012, Stronghold Games relaunched a new edition, Survive, Escape from Atlantis, 30th Anniversary Edition. It included refreshed artwork and a slightly revised theme. Simultaneously, French publisher Asmodee licensed the EU languages and launched The Island, which is the same game as Stronghold's version, but with a rebranded name for EU trademark purposely only. The US retail date of this edition of Survive was June 6, 2012. In 2012, The Island was awarded the 2012 BoardGame.ru Best Family Game, and was also a 2012 Juego del Año finalist. In 2013, Stronghold Games launched a 5 to 6 player mini expansion kit, plus Dolphins and Dive Dice expansion kit, and the Giant Squid expansion kit for Survive, Escape from Atlantis, 30th Anniversary Edition. All three expansion kits can also be played with Asmodee's The Island. Contents: board. The center of the game's board, representing the mountainous island of Atlantis itself, is covered with several tiers of molded hexagon tiles, giving the game a partly three-dimensional appearance. The island is made up of 4 different rings, with a mountain peak at the center, a ring of mountains around it, a ring of forest around that, and finally a ring of sandy beach at the outer edge. Each of the tiles has space to hold a maximum of 3 Atlanteans. The island is surrounded by open water, and in each of the 4 corners of the board are 4 coral islands. As play progresses, the land tiles are incrementally removed, simulating the ongoing sinking of the island. The objective of the game is for players to save their 10 Atlanteans from the sinking island by transporting them to the safety of the coral islands. Game pieces. Escape from Atlantis includes 4 Atlantean tribes, each with 12 villages. These are represented as small wooden figures, colored red, blue, green and yellow. Each player picks 1 tribe. Also included are boats and various sea animals, sharks, giant squid, sea serpents and dolphins. Some versions of Escape from Atlantis use dice. Waddington's version uses a special spinner device. Rules: game start. At the start of the game, the island tiles are shuffled, and the island of Atlantis is built at the center of the game board. Each player sets his/her tribe up on the island, in places of his/her own choosing. The only limitation is that sandy beach tiles can start with only 1 villager per tile. Some of the boats are placed in the sea adjacent to the island of Atlantis. In a 2-player game, there are 2 boats. In a 3 or 4 player game, there are 4 game rounds on his/her turn. Each player does 3 things, in this order: moves his/her villages, sinks 1 tile from the island of Atlantis, spins the spinner and moves the sea animals accordingly. Movement phase. Movement is by the villagers walking on land, swimming in the ocean, or being transported by boat or on the backs of helpful dolphins. The player has a fixed number of 3 spaces of movement on each turn. This can be freely distributed among the villagers, for example by moving 1 villager 3 spaces, or moving 3 villagers 1 space each. When swimming, a villager may only move 1 space per turn, but there are no such restrictions for other methods of movement. When traveling by boat, the player can also move a boat with villagers from other tribes on it, provided the player's tribe holds a non-minority position. This creates a tactical element by allowing players to transport other players' villages. Sinking phase. On each turn, an island tile is removed from the island. The removal starts from the sandy beach on the outer edge, and continues further inland as outer rings are exhausted. A tile with villages on it may only be sunk if no empty tiles are present in the currently sinking ring. A villager falling into the water does not drown. He floats at the surface, capable of swimming 1 space per turn, or 3 when riding on the back of a dolphin. Dolphins can only transport 1 villager at a time. The villagers' journeys are endangered variously by sea serpents, giant squid, sharks, and by whirlpools caused by the sinking land itself, and aided by dolphins in boats. A symbol on the bottom of the removed tile tells which of these appears in the tile's place. Whirlpools destroy all moving objects from the same space and adjacent spaces. The whirlpool is then discarded. Spinning phase. In the spinning phase, the spinner shows which kind of sea animal should be moved, and how many blocks, 1, 2, 3 or dive. The player then freely selects one of the animals in question from the board and moves it accordingly. She can decide its route for him/herself. This allows using sharks, octopuses or sea monsters to attack other players, or dolphins to come to the rescue of the player's own tribesmen. When a sea animal comes to contact with villagers on the sea, what happens depends on the animal. Sharks kill villagers swimming in the water. They do not harm boats or their passengers. Giant squid destroy boats. Any passengers in the boat survive, but are dropped in the water. Sea serpents both destroy boats and kill villagers. Dolphins allow villagers to ride them, giving them a maximum of 3 blocks of movement instead of 1. They do not protect villagers from sharks or sea serpents. A diving sea animal can appear at any sea hexagon that does not have villagers or boats in it. Winning the game. The game ends when all villagers either have safely arrived on the coral islands, or are dead, or if the volcano tile is flipped over. The winner is the player who, at the end of game, has succeeded in saving the most of their own villages. Rule variations. In the original version, Survive, the land pieces are randomly placed in the sinking island area at the start of the game. This results in the island sinking in a less uniform fashion than the current Escape from Atlantis game. This, paired with other changes, provides significantly different gameplay. The Survive game board uses a slightly different board design. The most marked difference is that each corner island has 2 entrance hexes rather than 1. Survive also has a gameplay feature whereby some games end earlier than others. Under one of the rock tiles, there is a graphic of an explosion which signifies that the volcanic island has erupted, ending the game and killing any villagers who have not yet escaped. Because the end of the game depended on when this tile is revealed, players were not able to rely on having a predetermined number of turns remaining. In terms of villages, each of a player's 10 pieces have a hidden numeric digit from 1 to 6 located on the bottom. This value represents the point value earned for rescuing the given villager. Once placed on the board, players are no longer able to reference which villager token has which number, even if the piece leaves play. As a result, it can become difficult to remember where the the most valuable villages are located, and furthermore, the values of other players' pieces are never known. Strategy dictates that the most valuable villages are often the ones leaving the island first, so they are typically the most valuable to go after with sea monsters. At the end of a game, the player with the highest surviving point total wins. Rather than a spinner device, a custom six-sided die is used to control the sea animals. Also, whales replace the giant squid counters, and there are no dolphins.